To Iraq and Turkey, and the current Middle East chair at the Wilson Center. Ambassador, thank you very much for joining us this hour. Great to have you on the show. So what does this declaration signal?
Thank you for having me, Rob. First of all, President Biden is living up to a commitment that he gave to Armenian Americans to take this step. And the step is to call the horrific events that occurred to the Ottoman Empire Armenians in 1915 a genocide specifically. That's what he promised. That's what he did today. The issue is how that impacts Turkey as a successor state to the Ottoman Empire.
Do you agree with this situation, with this decision? Would you have advised the president for or against this decision?
The last time it came up in 2009, I was the ambassador in Ankara, and I advised President Obama and Vice President Biden not to do it. It wasn't a question of the facts, which people argue back and forth. None of us were there in 1915. It's a question of the geopolitical importance of Turkey and the sensitivity of the Turks not to the events. Most understand and accept that the Ottoman Empire did terrible crimes, but the use of the word genocide, which is associated with one country only, and that's Nazi Germany.
And so if you advise President Obama against doing this, why is this administration making this decision now? Why is it now deemed to be in America's national interest to make this call?
Well, I think that, first of all, it's a domestic concern, living up to the commitments that you've made for your voters. I don't think there's any particular geostrategic benefit of doing this.
But there'll be geostrategic implications, won't there?
Yes. Absolutely, and those are downsides with Turkey. Turkey is an extremely important ally of ours in Syria, in Libya, the Ukraine, Afghanistan, the Caucasus, and in NATO, and in containing both Russia and Iran, which are both on the march throughout the Middle East and the region.
So we understand that Turkey summoned the U.S. ambassador. That is to be expected, no doubt. What other chips is Mr. Erdogan holding right now? How could he make life difficult for the Biden administration?
First of all, it depends on whether he speaks out personally. Sooner or later he will. He hasn't yet. That may be a good sign. President Biden sensibly called Erdogan yesterday to give him an alert. What he could do, that is Erdogan, is to limit American non-NATO military operations out of Turkey. We have significant forces and significant use of Turkish bases there. Secondly, he could make life more difficult for us, particularly in Syria, but also in these other areas where we and Turkey are more or less on the same side, but they're all complicated: Libya, Ukraine, and so forth. So we'll have to wait and see what steps he will take, as well as the usual diplomatic demarches and possible temporary pulling of ambassadors or worse.
Is this also the Biden administration signaling not necessarily to Turkey, but to other countries that this is the way they're going to do business? What does this open the door toward?
In general, other countries, again, those countries that are very important on the front lines of the global order against China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, will believe that their geopolitical cooperation with the United States may not be valued as highly as one or another human rights or related value. That's the concern I have with this decision.
So what do you mean by that?
What I mean is that they may feel that it's not enough simply to generally have the same attitudes as the United States and the rest of NATO. You have to cooperate closely, continuously, and with some pain and internal cost to maintain a solid front on any issue, say Syria. And there may be problems doing that with Turkey now, because the Turks will not want to have the same communications with us. They won't trust us as much. Other countries will look at that and they will conclude the United States does not have our back if there is some internal problem or some ghost from our past or some human rights issue that Washington is concerned about. That is what I'm worried about.
But wouldn't the Biden administration, and particularly many Americans after the Trump years, say that's exactly what we need? We need to put our foot down and say America is a bulwark of human rights defense.
And America is. It's also a bulwark against the march forward which President Biden's own national intelligence community just issued a report on threats. These countries are on the march. Again, Russia, China, and Iran. And it is very, very important that we build up a alliance, which we have, but make sure it works, to block these people. That was a complaint against the Trump administration, that we didn't work closely enough with our allies. Unfortunately, many of our allies have pasts that concern us, or they do things today that concern us.
So what you're saying is, does this damage the alliance with Turkey, and what are the political implications for that long term? Ambassador James Jeffrey, always great to get your perspective, your expertise. You worked so long in that region. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, Saturday turned into another night of protests and clashes